I have a hard time starting videos. I'm one of those people. I need some momentum. I need to get the thoughts going. And then once I get the thoughts going, the juice is in the middle of the video. So we're just going to jump into this. Yes, I have a black eye. Don't worry about it. Okay. That's between myself and my eye. And really, it's here for the drama. I thought maybe it would be more interesting if I showed up looking a little different, looking a little less regular. How many YouTubers are on here making videos with a black eye? Not that many. Okay. So that's what makes me different. Okay. So we've been talking about educational content. We've been talking about inspirational, how to do this, long-term goals, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about something important for once, okay? And that's Call of Duty, of course. Specifically, we're going to look at the map for Rebirth Island. I think we're all familiar with this. If you've been playing this game for a while, there's been a few iterations of Rebirth Island. We're talking about the current Rebirth Island map in 2024, and we're going to talk about what it means or what each drop location says about you, okay? And so I'm not prepared for this. I didn't make notes. I'm not sitting here, considering it over hours. I'm just going to look and see, and I'm going to say what I see, okay? Because if you've played this game, right? If you drop a certain place, everybody has their preferences. They have their places that they want to drop. It's not like, oh my gosh, for these specific reasons, I want to go here. You fall into different categories. You drop at a certain spot, you get comfortable, you kind of like the loot there. There's similar minded people that are always dropping there. And maybe there's a few spots that you cycle between, but everybody's got their favorites. Likewise, everybody's got their spots they wouldn't even consider dropping. They're like, never am I dropping there unless I'm playing with somebody I don't usually play with, and then they want to go there, in which case I'll be a good teammate and I'll go with them despite me knowing better, me knowing that I don't want to be there. So we're going to jump into this. Number one, we got to start with headquarters, right? There's headquarters and prison. Really, those are connected, right? If you're dropping headquarters, you're dealing with people in prison. If you're dropping prison, you're dealing with people in headquarters. People in headquarters are always trying to snipe you if you drop in prison. If you drop in headquarters, people in prison are just going crazy and you're like, I want to snipe them. I want to shoot them. I want to drop an airstrike or a kill streak or a mortar strike. Okay. So we all know this, right? If you're dropping headquarters or if you're dropping prison, you're sort of dropping both. That's just the way it works. They're connected. They are constantly at war with each other. People from headquarters are sniping and then they're trying to thirst. They're trying to get the full kill. So then they're parachuting down onto prison. People on prison, there's usually way more people there. And so it's chaos. Somebody gets sniped and then people are parachuting in and then you're getting those kills. It's just a mess, right? But also there's good loot there, right? There's usually a sniper. There's usually kill streaks. There's tons of loot. There's lots of people. It's active. It's spicy. You're guaranteed to get a good time. Actually, I take that back. Not a good time. You're guaranteed to get a time when you drop in prison or headquarters. You're like, I want to play and I want people to be there. There's a 90% chance that there's going to be other people there. If there's not other people there, you're like, what's going on? Is this lobby half empty? I'm suspicious. So similar to those two, but not related, is Control Center. Control Center is where you go if you want to get in a fight immediately. If you're like 1 second after landing, maybe not even a full second, I want to be shooting somebody and they're going to be shooting at me, you go Control Center. That's just one of the spiciest places. There's a war happening on the ground. There's people going crazy inside on the ground as well. Then there's the second level where people are throwing, they're throwing claymores down and they're throwing the proximity mines and like they're just dropping on people from there. Then there's the rooftop battle plus that other little building to the side, the smaller building, and those people are shooting each other. The people on the side building are always pistol whipping each other. The people on the roof are always shooting at somebody, but they're getting shot by somebody who lands on top of the staircase of the roof area. And then there's people up on the antenna area that are shooting down there, and they're like shooting and then they're hiding because they don't want to get shot, right? It's crazy. And then the thing about Control Center is you'll have a war with multiple squads and you'll get all these kills and somehow no squad wipe. People keep dropping in. It's the never ending battle. Next thing you know, you get the warning that Resurgence is ending and you get no more redeploys. And you're like, what? I haven't even left Control Center. I never even got a gun. I've just been coming in with the pistol. And then eventually I've died enough times that I come in, or the game's progressed late enough that I come in with the SMG or whatever that you get after that. You're like, Resurgence is ending. We're in the late game scenario. I've redeployed 50 times and I have 2 kills, 4,000 damage. That's the experience with Control Center because you get the down, but you never have enough ammo or time to get the full kill. That's just how Control Center is. Now, if you're a little ADHD like me, that's what you need. You need something to keep your attention. It's I don't know. It can be an inspiring place to be. And then one of the other things, and you'll know what I'm talking about, is if you drop in the game and it's empty and you go too long without fighting people, then you're like, I'm not warmed up. We get to a late game scenario, people are tweaking, they have their loadout, they might have 10 kills already, they're like going crazy, and I have to be ready to compete with that. I haven't shot anybody for the first 10 minutes of this game. So if you go control center, there's no way that situation happens, right? You've been shooting since the moment that you landed. You're probably shooting before you even hit the ground. You cut your parachute at a questionable height where you're going to take damage when you hit the ground, but you're already shooting. That's just how control center goes. Doc has a similar relationship with control center as headquarters in prison. People that drop doc are always getting shot by people that get drop in the control center. And likewise, sometimes people drop doc, they specifically drop doc on drop dock. That's a funny sentence. People drop dock and they land on the mast of the boat or like the rigging or whatever, and then or the antennas, whatever you want to call that. It's not a freaking sailboat, but it does have, tall rigging and stuff. And they're sniping people from control center. There's always that relationship. I will say though, even though you drop dock and there's not that good of loot, it's okay loot at best, and then you're getting shot at by people from control center, and then even if you survive, you have to fight your way up to where control center is, where the aforementioned multiple levels of war are happening. The redeeming factor of doc is you get to blow that horn on the boat. You get to hit that horn. You can hit it a few times. That makes it all worth it. People are sniping at you. You're probably not getting out. You're not making it to the final circle. You're not even making it to the top 15 teams, or maybe you're making the top 15s, but it's all worth it when you get to hit that horn. That makes it worth it. Moving on, let's talk about Stronghold. So if we remember in earlier versions of this map, Stronghold and Living Quarters had the relationship where if you dropped Stronghold, you were sniping people in Living Quarters. And if the storm was going to move in such a way, or I guess it's not a storm, it's the gas in this. Sorry, I'm using Fortnite speak. Don't at me. But if the gas is moving in such a way that you have to migrate from Stronghold up to Living Quarters, then the Living Quarters people were going to hold you they were going to gatekeep you with, snipers or LMGs, whatever. They were going to shoot you as you came up. This relationship is weakened. It's not the same in the current iterations of the map. It still exists, especially since Stronghold has that like antenna tower and you can snipe from there, and Living Quarters is just always Living Quarters. It just is what it is. It's not like it used to be, and partially it's because there's a lot more cover in Stronghold in this current iteration of the map. There's all these buildings. There's a lot more cover. Stronghold versus formerly known as Security, it just feels like there's a lot more. It's got its own ecosystem. Stronghold can be a ghost town. If you drop there could be nobody, or you could drop there and it's just like there's 11 teams all fighting for scraps, and it's just crazy. And somebody's driving around on an ATV, and then there's an airstrike and then a bunker buster all happening at the same time. Plus, there's that I don't even know what you call it. There's that spot that has the treasure inside the building. If you get the key card, you can get really good loot early on. That is not as active as it used to be, but people would rush that early on. They get a key card, go straight there. There was always a team waiting for them. It was a fight over the loot. So there used to be that relationship between Stronghold and Living Quarters. There is a relationship. It is diminished. It's not the same as it used to be. We all know this. Stronghold it can be a ghost town or it can be an absolute war zone. It's kind of a roll of the dice. I would say it's 50-50. So if you drop Stronghold, you're either getting the craziest time ever and honestly maybe losing first round, or you get a bunch of loot and then you're kind of bored. You're like, we got to go up see what's going on in Living Quarters. Now we're going on to Living Quarters, my personal favorite place to drop. Specifically, not just my personal favorite, but this, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but you've got Big Green, as we always called it, and then you got the building right next to Big Green. The first one, it's red. And then the second building to the right of Big Green, my favorite place to drop. Okay, I always call it Mark and Debbie's. When I'm dropping Mark and Debbie's, I know I'm probably getting a fight. I'm definitely getting good loot. There's places to hide. You get to freaking clear every house like a little SWAT team. The movement there is crazy. The way you can jump in and out from the roof into the building, through the windows, on the ladder. There's crazy stuff where you can climb halfway up the ladder into the window and try to shoot people that are holding the staircase. You can get some crazy angles and head glitch on that staircase. Just jumping from the different roofs. It's one of my favorite places, right? Partially because the movement is insane, but also because almost always there is a fight and always there's great loot, right? And then even if you drop and there's not a good fight right there, you're going to find one. You're going to be close to two of what I said are some of the hottest areas, which would be headquarters. Always a fight going on there. And Stronghold, 50% chance of a fight. And then you're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Control Center. Like I said, potentially the hottest drop of the whole game. This might be the tilted towers of this map, Control Center, right? You could argue a lot of these different locations have, the potential to be the hottest spot. But when we're talking about of the frequency of chaos, the frequency of, franticness. I'm thinking there's a phrase there. The frequency of franticsy, the frequency of franticsy. Cut that. Chat, cut that. Anyway, Control Center is going to be the hottest, right? It has the highest chance of being just an insanely hot drop. There's always a fight there. So, like I said, you drop living quarters on the off chance that you drop alone and you're a little lonely, you're a little bored, you're like, I'm getting cold. I need to be going crazy right now. And I don't want to go crazy, or I want to go crazy. I don't want to be caught, a little bit slow. I don't want to be caught, a little cold. My thumbs aren't going crazy. Late game, you can always find a fight in one of three places right next to you: Stronghold, Headquarters, or just a little ways away, Control Center. By the way, this area in between living quarters and Control Center with all the tents, everybody calls it tents. If you don't call it tents, what are you doing? Anyway, that area usually, it's almost its own ecosystem, right? That area usually has good loot, typically has some baddies. I will say people like to camp in those tents. They like to climb up on a box and be crouching and try to get an angle and just shoot you when you walk in. Little risky, right? But like Daniel Boone said, I don't know what he said, but you have to go in there and you have to, throw grenades and clear them out. So that being said, we've got Factory. Factory can be a spicy drop, especially if people drop on the boat. Factory is not as spicy as earlier iterations of this map, but always good loot, usually a fight there. And that buy station, which is down on the ground, is very enticing. Enticing to buy things, but also enticing to get sniped. Enticing for somebody to camp it and kill you. So Factory is a good drop for loot. It also has the potential for multiple levels of battling. I would say Factory is a good mid-game location because usually you can hold an area. There's enough boxes that will resurge. They'll regenerate, and there'll be new loot in there as well. And then you've got that roof. Sometimes you're getting sniped from Headquarters area, specifically the house that we call Grandma's right next to Headquarters. You'll get sniped onto the Factory rooftop. But generally, Factory rooftop is a pretty secure location that you can hold mid-game. That's a good spot to be mid-game. And then you can always progress towards Harbor, which we know as maybe not a very hot drop location. Usually if you're dropping there might be another team. But Harbor's usually got good loot. And Harbor is oftentimes where the late game happens. I don't know what the chances of that are. I guess because the island is kind of an oval shape, so you're gonna be towards dock, or you're gonna be towards harbor more often than the extremes of those far spots, just because of the nature of an oval shaped island with a circle that's going to condense. But harbor seems to be where a lot of late game situations happen, and harbor is a ghost town early game, oftentimes sweatiest place ever late game. The sweatiest. People are hiding in the water. People are going through the pipes that are underneath of harbor. They are camping inside that building. There's that 2-layered building. Then there's also the building with the 3 layers right next to it. People are on the roof. People are crawling around. There's those buildings just north of harbor that are kind of newer. Just a crazy late game area. Won a lot of games in harbor. Had a lot of tough losses. Harbor will build some character, especially late game, because you could be holding it and then all these teams rush in and you just get smashed. So that's tough. Then we got to go to Industry. I would say Industry is another situation kind of like Harbor. Not the most fun drop early game, but late game can get insane. It's got a ton of loot. It's got the 2 levels, technically 3 levels if you include the roof. And then the roof is, a great spot to be very late game when people aren't in prison. But if people are sniping from prison and you're on the roof at Industry, what are you doing? You're done. You're wide open. You're going to be laying there. And then, by the way, bioweapon is now shooting you as well. So Industry is just tough. Definitely a late game area. It gets crazy. I will say it's got good loot. And then it's got the spot where if you bring all the key cards, you get crazy loot. So, but who's got time? If you're in there trying to get all this damage and these kills, who's got time to get all those key cards? Right next to Industry is Chemical Engineering. This is a really fun drop because there's a lot of verticality to it. There is the bottom level, but then there's the even lower level, which is like the water and the grass. Then there's the mid tier. Then there is the the multiple levels of mid tier within there. This is the most vertical of all the spots, I would say, except for bioweapon. This is chemical engineering is where you hear footsteps and you're like, they could be anywhere. Could be way below me, could be one level above, could be right below me, could be on the roof. You hear footsteps, it's kind of just normal. You're not really freaking out. You already know there's people around. There's like what sounds like 90 footsteps and they could be anywhere, but you're sort of like, yeah, there's people here. I know that. I'm just trying to reload my gun and put a plate in. So chemical engineering is a fun place to drop. It can be spicy. There's always going to be good loot. And then, you could have the place locked down and get a squad wipe, and then another team shows up and you didn't even know they were there because there are so many levels to it. There's so many spots for teams, little pockets for teams to be hiding. You're like, oh, there's 4 people on that level. I'm going to go down a level. Oh, there's 4 more people right here, and they have a kill streak now. So that's just kind of the experience with chemical engineering. But like I said, good loot. And then lastly, we have bioweapons, one of my favorite places to drop. Bioweapons is great because there's a fight on the roof, there's a fight in the mid level, there's a fight on the second level, there's a fight on the ground, there's people down in the water. Your team is there. The call outs are essential here, right? Your comms from your teammates are essential because they'll be like, there's somebody on the top. And you're like, what level? And they're trying to explain to you that it's the middle level and it's the one that's nice and it's not the one that's trashed. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There's like a nice laboratory level to it. And then there's a level right next to that that's kind of like trashed and burnt out. And so, the comms are everything here because they're like, they're above. Which level, bro? What brother? Where are they at? I need your comms. Comms are essential here. The team with the best comms will emerge victorious in bioweapons unless the other team is tweaking. Whoever tweaks the most wins at bioweapons. That's just the bottom line. The tweakiest people come out on top at bioweapons. Second would be the team with the best comms. So I started this video by saying, what does each drop say about you? And I really just described the drops. I would say your personality is going to lend you to one or the other, or maybe just, this map has got so much, I don't know, variety to it as well, especially since if you've played for a long time, they've updated it and it's gotten a little more complex. you know, each time. I would say that it could also just be the place that you're the most familiar with, the place that you feel like you get the most loot. And then also some people want a hot drop and other people are like, I want to relax and get a gun before I shoot. So, people are going to drop differently because of that. If you are a hot drop person, you're probably dropping headquarters or living quarters or bioweapons. I would say those are the hottest drops. I'm so sorry. How could I forget Control Center? Control Center is the hottest drop, I think, most often. So if you're looking for a fight, you're dropping Control Center, right? Number one. And then number two, all kind of ranking similarly would be bioweapon, headquarters / prison, and living quarters, right? That's number two. You're looking for a very hot drop, but maybe not scalding hot. Control Center is like you're going to be alive on average for 2 seconds, right? For a while, unless you get a team wipe. Headquarters, living quarters, prison, bioweapons, you might be alive for like 10 seconds, right? And then, that there's a war that goes on there. And then the third hottest drop, this is where you're like, hey, I'm interested in a fight, but I also just want to get good loot. I'm okay if we chill. That's probably a tie between like Stronghold and I would say chemical engineering. Maybe Doc, you could throw Doc in there, but Doc has that relationship with Control Center. So it's like Doc is kind of on the edge of, tier 2, but it's definitely a tier 3. Stronghold, chemical engineering for sure. I want to get some loot. I'm cool if there's a fight, but also I don't mind chilling. Right now, the people that really want to chill, they're like, I just want to loot. First of all, they're probably not dropping in a named area. They're going to drop in, something kind of in between. They're going to drop on that dock area next to industry. Or maybe the boat by factory. But if we're going to call them areas, those people are dropping at factory. Those people are dropping at harbor. Those people are dropping at industry. Those are the people who are like, bro, I just want to loot. I want to get my gun. I want to get some money. I want to buy a loadout. I really don't want ground loot. I want my loadout. I don't want to see somebody until I have my loadout. And then even from them, I kind of just want to watch them from a distance, engage, maybe try to third party them while they're shooting somebody else. And this is the God honest truth. Everybody hates a third party until you're the third party. And then you love it. You're like, yes, fight each other and I will shoot. In the meantime, I'm going to snipe you from this far away or whatever. I'm going to call it an airstrike while you guys are out there. Everybody hates a third party until you're the third party. And then you're like, this is a party. I love being the third party, except for when the third party's shooting you while you're fighting for your life against another, you're fighting a blood war against another squad. Then you're like, I hate this third party. This is a 20-minute video talking about Call of Duty, but that's what you signed up for when you click this video. So that's what the drop locations say about you. That's the ranking of the spiciness, of the hotness, of the probability of smoke and fighting with each drop. And this is not for debate, although I would be interested to hear what you say. You know what you think. If you disagree, if you agree, do you have names for locations besides what I just talked about? I talked about Mark and Debbie's. I talked about Grandma's. Those are the main names. The boat, I pretty much just call it horn. Honk that horn, hit that horn. What other locations that aren't named here do you have names for? I would be very interested, and I might start using them as well. Until next time.